Chapter 401 Cameo. Wang Qi poured 3 glasses of wine for Li Shishi. Li Shishi didn't want to drink them for the sake of resources. She drank them reluctantly. Good drinking, Shishi. I heard that you've been filming a movie recently. I heard that you were very likely to win an award. We will have to rely on you to become famous in the future. Don't forget about us when you win an award. Wang Qi smiled. Of course not, Director Wang. I heard that you're filming a suspense drama recently. Do you think I can have a bite? Li Shishi smiled and looked at the person beside her. She was a little anxious because of Yan Ran's presence. She wasn't mentally prepared yet to exact her plan, and it was awkward to talk to Yan Ran because of what happened previously. This awkwardness was present now. I booked a female lead this time, but I'll definitely find you next time. Wang Qi declined. Li Shishi sat down and touched Wang Qi's leg dishonestly while smiling. Director Wang, the lead can be changed before the cameras start rolling. My ability and popularity are the best. Why don't you consider me? I can definitely earn you some money. Director Wang looked down at Li Shishi's hand and smiled. Shishi, I know about your acting skills, but our movie needs a female lead with a sexy style. You've always had a pure image, so this movie isn't suitable for you. Besides, the female lead's age is fixed to a high school student. Maybe next time. Wang Qi moved to the side quietly. There were many female actors who were willing to sacrifice their bodies for resources, but he didn't buy it. When Yan Ran saw this, he could only remain silent, but his heart was full of rejection for his former idol. How glamorous she was on screen was how disgusting she was behind it. At this moment, Li Ming saw Li Shishi's hand underneath the table and smiled. Shishi, I have a new movie that lacks actresses. Why don't you? His gaze hinted at Li Shishi to adapt to the situation. Some wouldn't fall for her tricks, while others would. Li Shishi smiled quickly. Director, what is the genre of your movie? Shishi looked at his lecherous appearance and didn't want to take up his offer for a role. Everyone knew in the circle that Li Ming was a lecherous man who liked to take advantage of actresses during filming. Many female celebrities had been tortured, and the scenes he filmed were mostly outrageous, but he had indeed raised many big stars. It's a period drama. See if you're interested. I'm short on people. Li Ming raised his glass and smiled. Director Li, why didn't we hear that you have a new show that you're filming? Why didn't you tell us? Aren't you being too biased? The person who spoke was Director Huang Dulong. Director Huang, I've only just had the idea about the show. Aren't I here to find actors? Li Ming smiled. Yan Ran took the opportunity to interrupt them with a smile. Director Wang, I think I can give that suspense drama a try. Don't worry, you'll definitely get a role. I originally wanted to get in touch with you for the male lead role. But since you're here now, I can confirm that if you want it, you have the role. Wang Qi raised his glass and promised. In fact, aside from his identity as Mo Zhenrong's brother-in-law, his popularity and acting skills were top-notch. In addition to his handsome appearance and obedient personality, he was a perfect candidate for the role. When Li Shishi saw that Yan Ran had successfully won the role, she had no results. She felt a little jealous and leaned over to say something. Director Wang, aren't you being too biased? He only spoke a few sentences and you give him the role? Who exactly is the female lead? How much money did she give you to make you so determined? Wang Ming's expression was dark and he was furious. Chen Yu is the star of the show. You should know that her family is rich, pretty, and capable. Her family is the investor of the show and is well known in the industry, but some people are different. Some people? He spoke as though everyone had money. Was it not a big deal to not have money? Li Shishi gritted her teeth in anger, but she didn't dare to voice her anger and only kept it in her heart. Even if she couldn't get the female lead position, she could still get the second female lead. Director Wang, since the female lead is confirmed, I can take the role of the second female lead. As long as there's a chance, I won't be picky. Due to the competitive industry, it's good enough for me to have a role. I won't expect too much. Li Shishi was still smiling. There isn't a second female lead in this movie, but if you really want to act in it, I have a plan. This movie lacks a cameo, and I'm looking for someone to act in it. Would you be willing? He couldn't stand Li Shishi's chatter. It was good enough to give her a cameo. A cameo? How many scenes are there? Li Shishi's expression changed and her smile faded. She was a popular celebrity. How could she be in a cameo? The first and last episodes will be filled with your scenes. And there will be scenes in the middle too. All your appearance will add up to 2 or 3 episodes. Wang Qi calculated. 2 to 3 episodes? Who is he dismissing? Did he really think she was a silly little celebrity? Director Wang, isn't there anything else? Isn't it appropriate to act in a cameo with my current identity? Li Shishi forced a smile. No, I'm thinking of treating this movie as my retirement work. I'm not going to do directing anymore after this. I'm too old to work. The others at the table looked at each other and smiled. After Wang Qi retired, the movie market would be theirs. Director Wang, you're retiring? I heard that your son has given birth to a grandson to you. Are you going back to take care of the child? Li Fang smiled. Wang Qi nodded with a smile. He was almost 60 and it was time to retire. Shishi, you debuted in a female group, so I suggest you run more variety shows. The television drama and the movie market is saturated. This way you can still act after a few years later. If you really want to act in a television drama, I have a show since Director Wang won't be able to give you a role, but the male lead is a little outdated and the main leads are newbies. If you join, you'll be the female lead. What do you think? Zhao Jun raised his glass and smiled. He was a big-bellied man with short hair, glasses, and a cigar in his left hand. He wore a jade ring and necklace, making him look very generous. Luca Abuda. Brother Zhao, why do you spend so much effort to make television drama like that? You're going to lose money if you don't become popular. Wang Qi smiled. Zhao Jun shook his head and took a deep breath with worry. Well, recently the funders came to me and they spent money to get me to make a movie for their son. The male lead is their son, and I've sought out many people for the female lead, but they haven't succeeded. Shishi, can you see if you can agree? Li Shishi pouted. She was a popular celebrity, and her fans would scold her if she accepted such a role. She might as well make the cameo. Director Zhao, I don't have much time. I could squeeze out a few days to make a guest appearance in Director Wang's movie, but I won't be acting in any other shows for the time being. She declined politely. Yanran didn't speak at the side, but his heart was cursing. Why was he so unlucky to work with her? His worst nightmare had come true. He wanted to reject the role for the suspense drama now, but he couldn't bring himself to do so at the party. In order to avoid seeing her, he deliberately rejected the role from a good drama. Now that he thought about it, he regretted it. Director Zhao, I'm interested in your drama. Can you send me the script? Yanran thought for a moment and said, Chapter 402. He was taken away. Yanran, a newbie drama isn't interesting. You might lose some fans. Wang Qi reminded him. Everyone is a newcomer at least once. I can accept anything as long as the script is alright. Yanran smiled and said. Zhao Jun was a little hesitant. I don't lack a male lead or a second male lead in this drama. I just lack a female lead. Of course, if you're willing, I can replace the second male lead. We can discuss the salary again. Zhao Jun agreed straight away after hearing that Yanran was interested. Wouldn't he be profiting if such a celebrity was willing to act in his drama? Director Zhao, I would like to have take a look at the screenplay first. Yanran mainly wanted to look at the script. If the script was alright, he would act. If he succeeded, it would raise his popularity. If not, Zhao Jun would owe him at least a favor, and it would be useful in the future. Sure. I will get someone to send it over tomorrow. You've helped me a lot, so don't worry. I'll treat you well in the future. Zhao Jun smiled. He was an affectionate and loyal person who would repay kindness. After the official discussion was over, the group of people at the table started to drink. During the meal, they talked about Yanran's brother-in-law. Yanran, you are Mo Junrong's brother-in-law. How much do you know about Mo Junrong? Tell us, we are also very curious. Your brother-in-law seems to be very mysterious, and your sister was very popular online a few days ago. They all laughed. Yanran was a little tipsy, but he was still conscious. I don't know, my sister never tells me anything about her matters. Not to mention Mojang, I don't know anything. Stop pretending. How could you not know about your biological sister's matter? Tell me, how much do you benefit from your brother-in-law? Li Ming smiled, his face flushed and his eyes dazed. That's right, I heard that at the gala last time you were almost taken away by those rich women. How did you escape in the end? Everyone knows those rich women. They're famous for their lavishness, and many young boys have been seduced by them. How did you escape? A woman asked. Yanran didn't want to stay in this party anymore, but he was pushed down the moment he wanted to get up. Yanran, are you drunk? Do you want to go to the bathroom? If so, let's go together. A tall and thin man supported him. He seemed to have drunk a lot. Yanran didn't think too much about it and followed him out. The people at the meal were still discussing Mojang. Why isn't Mojang here yet? Is it fake news? They were drunk and, well, asking questions. Who knows? He might not be coming at all. Let's split up. Zhao Jun was a little dazed as he said this. They were about to get up when Mojang and Mo San pushed the door open and looked around. After looking, he didn't see Yanran. Hey, Boss Mo, have a seat. I thought you weren't coming. Zhao Jun immediately flattered him. Where's Lan Yanran? Mo San asked. Yanran will be back soon. He went to the washroom. He drank a little too much. Wang Qi smiled. Mojang sat down to wait for Lan Yanran. Boss Mo, please have a drink. We came especially for you. They didn't talk much at the dining table, and now that Mojang was here, they hurriedly poured some wine and smiled. I don't drink. Mojang looked at the mess on the table with disgust. Boss Mo, we're from a small company. I wonder if we can establish connections with you. The man in the lead wore his suit and handed a name card. Janan didn't even glance at him. Since you know that Boss Mo is a big shot, you should know your own abilities. The Mo Corporation doesn't collaborate with just anyone. The Mo family's main dealings are with the large international companies. We will usually hand over some local contractors to external companies. If you want to cooperate, you can find them. The Mo Corporation won't take over. The people in the front retracted their name cards. Boss Mo, we knew that we're not good enough, but we thought we could give us a chance. A few of them refused to give up and stood up to speak humbly. They still wanted to cooperate with the Mo Corporation. After all, outsourcing companies wasn't very popular, and it wasn't easy for small companies like theirs to receive support from the Mo Corporation. I'm sorry, you're not qualified with the Mo family. Jinhong spoke softly. Look, Boss Mo is so principled as to look down on small companies like us. Taiyan Chen Entertainment's boss, Wang Defa, said, Boss Wang, you have to think these through before you say anything. The Mo family is an international company. You know the rules. If we say yes today, it will happen again in the future. The Mo family still has a business to run. Roger smiled. I know that you have your principles. Your family rules over Rung City and we can't even have a sip of soup. But aren't you going too far? Juan Defa was dissatisfied. Didn't Boss Mo give you a chance to go to those outsourcing companies? But you guys don't even look for them. It's good enough that you still have your company. Be content, Mo San warned. Boss Mo, outsourcing companies are just supporting the production of small parts and other trivial matters. If our company wants to develop, how can a small production do? Jinra saw that the people in front of him were satisfied or instantly annoyed. He looked at his watch. Yanran had been gone for more than 10 minutes. Why hasn't he been back yet? He stood up impatiently. Why isn't Yanran back yet? Musan looked at his watch and felt that something was amiss. He and Jinrong went to the bathroom to check, but there was no one there. Where did Yanran go? Jinrong called Hyunmoo, wanting to ask for Yanran's number. Surprisingly, no one picked up the call, and the call ended after a few seconds. He felt that something was wrong, so he went to the surveillance room to get someone to check the hospital surveillance cameras. Your master, Lan Yanran is here. No son pointed at the surveillance camera. Yanran is supported by a man. He first went to the bathroom and came out 2 minutes later. He didn't go back, but went straight to the elevator. From the camera, he saw that the elevator went directly to the room on the 6th floor. Jerome had a bad premonition. There were several times that the Aran was almost caught by someone else. It was difficult for him to explain if someone looked at him like this. He went to the front desk and asked who the people in the 6th floor rooms are. Jerome's expression was grim. Mosan went to the front desk and he stayed in the control room. He realized that the man came out after he sent Yanran in. Was he mistaken? Soon, Mosan returned from the front desk. Young master, the front desk said that the rooms on the 6th floors belong to several women. They booked everything all at once and said that no one is allowed to disturb them. Women? Who? Jerome was a little puzzled. What kind of women could be so rich? The rooms cost at least 400 to 500 yuan, which added up to more than 100,000 yuan. They seem to be rich women in the entertainment industry, often finding fresh meat for their enjoyment. I'm afraid they have been targeting Yanran for a long time. Mosan speculated. Damn it, let's go take a look. Jerome had a bad feeling. He hurried to the 6th floor. In the room, several wealthy women looked at the prey on the bed covertly. They had been eyeing Lan Yanran for a long time. Chapter 403, Dowry. Sisters, let's begin. Several women rushed to Yanran's side, touching his handsome face and his smooth skin. Yanran, let me enjoy myself, a fat woman smiled. They unbuttoned his clothes, revealing his defined abs. Not bad, kid. You're my cup of tea, the woman smiled. Yanran was drunk and had no idea what was happening. He turned over and continued to sleep. Come on. Several women pounced on Yanran. They looked at him greedily, their tongues kissing his neck. They were still unsatisfied and wanting more. Touching Yanran, they wanted to continue undressing him. Suddenly, Mo Junhong rushed in with his men. The woman laid on Yanran's body and looked at Mo Junhong in surprise. This man is not bad. Since you're here, don't leave, a woman smiled. Junhong looked at the unconscious Yanran and was disgusted by them. Take them away. Junhong couldn't bear to look at them and said to the people behind him. What? A woman shouted. Do you know who I am? I am the big sister of the entertainment circle. How dare you touch me? Let me go. The few women bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they were pulled down from the bed. Send them to the police station. They'll be charged with forced sexual exploitation. Mo-san picked up the woman's clothes with his thumb and forefinger and tossed them to them. Let go of me. The woman's voices faded. Mo-san helped Yanran get dressed and helped him up. Fortunately, he's all right. He was almost beaten by these old women. Young master, should we send them back to the Lan family? No, his parents will be worried if they find out. Send them to old Mrs. Mo and get someone to take care of him. Junron covered his mouth and said, Anan didn't seem to be taking any action, but she had already left those who were monitoring her behind and was hiding in the countryside researching cosmetics. She hadn't forgotten her promise to Chao Shen. It was just there that people monitoring her, and she didn't want to expose herself, so she carried out her research secretly at night. The main direction of her cosmetics was to slow down the aging of women, including melting fat particles, shrinking eye bags, and smile lines. Her main item was a facial cream. She had looked up a lot of information and found that many herbs had beauty effects, but it was troublesome to extract them. Compared to fake cosmetics on the market, this one was definitely authentic. Hanan used her secret formula, which was refined from the foundation of a unique plant on the snowy mountain. Hence, the facial cream was fragrant and had obvious effect. It was just one step away from completion. After she was done, she thought about her brother's performance tomorrow and called Yanran, but the call went unanswered. Perhaps it was because of work that he didn't answer, but Yanran didn't think too much about it. She just wanted to complete the last step, and then her work would be done. After returning home, she hurriedly made medicine for Ting Young. Anran, where have you been? Why isn't your brother back yet? Shouldn't he be back yet? Ting Young was worried. Dad, don't worry. Anran is his own person. He might have got lost track of time while he was rehearsing. I'll pick him back later. Anran smiled and said, At this moment, Zhao Shumi suddenly came to visit with some gifts. Mom, why are you here? Ting Young was a little surprised. He had been hospitalized and hadn't seen his mother for a while. She probably wouldn't come for any good reason today. You didn't even tell me that you were discharged. I wasted a trip to the hospital. Sashimi entered angrily and placed down a basket of fruit. What's the matter this time? Anran walked out with a smile. Sashimi was a little intimidated by her. It's alright, it's nothing. I just wanted to ask when we could meet that family. We're a little anxious. Sashimi's expression softened. What does she mean? Anran, you can't hide it from me, Ting Young said. His mother wasn't someone to be trifled with, and it's best not to be reckless when dealing with his mother. It's alright, Dad. Grandma's anxious to marry Yaxinov. I found a wealthy family for them, and Grandma is anxious to meet them. Anran smiled and looked at Zhao Shumi. It's alright, if you want to meet them, I'll have to ask them when they're free, but I heard that they're very particular when it comes to meetings. You'll have to prepare some gifts. They are also particular about what family they match with. After all, their son is from a rich family, so you have to prepare a dowry and let them have a good impression of you so that Yaxin wouldn't get bullied. Sashimi was at a loss. She lowered her head. She knew that this girl didn't have any good intentions, which was why she had brought it up in front of Ting Young. His niece was getting married, so how could he, as her uncle, not spend money? I need to spend money when my granddaughter is getting married? I'm not looking for a live-in grandson-in-law. Ting Young, don't you think this is inappropriate? Sashimi threw the problem to Ting Young. We have to give them a dowry. For Anran's case, it's the Mo family who didn't want Anran's dowry, so we didn't prepare it. However, this is different when it comes to other people. We'll have to prepare a dowry for Yaxin. Ting Young nodded. Grandma, if you want to lead a good life, how can you not fork up some money? Besides, the money will be returned to you after she gets married. The Zhu family doesn't lack money either. It's just a courtesy. If you agree to this, you should prepare the dowry. I'll ask them to meet you after you agree. Anran smiled and said, Which family's young master? Ting Young asked curiously. Sashimi raised her head arrogantly. They are said to be the Zhu family from a neighboring city. They are the biggest family in the city, and they are in the leather business. They have a son who wants to find a wife to prolong the family's bloodline, so that his offspring can inherit the family business. Yaxin is the right age, and Anran found her this handsome man, so it's just right for her to marry into the family. Ting Young thought for a moment and said, Marriage isn't a child's play. Why don't we let them try to get along first? He could tell that Xu Yantian and his mother had always compared the Mo family with Yaxin's future prospects. Even if that family couldn't be compared to the Mo family in terms of prestige, at least they were wealthy. There's no need. Since ancient times, parents had always arranged their children's marriages. Isn't Anran the same? Yaxin can't be worse than Anran. Ting Young, you have to prepare a welcome gift for her since you're her uncle. You'll have to prepare something decent for your niece's wedding. Sashimi waved her hand. Grandma, what are you saying? When I married, Uncle didn't give me anything. Why should my dad prepare a gift for Yaxin now that she's getting married? It's not fair. Besides, her dowry needs to be prepared by her family. If they find out that her family are liars, I'm not sure she would have a good life in the future. Anran smiled and said. Sashimi's expression changed as she spoke in a low voice. You got married in a hurry, and we didn't know what kinds of gifts we should prepare. I don't care. You can't treat Yaxin poorly. You have to pay. Sashimi issued a command to Ting Young. She didn't have the money anyway, so she won't be spending money on this. Grandma, if you insist on Dad paying, let's drop the marriage. I'll help you contact another family, but they probably won't treat Yaxin as kindly as the Zhu family. After all, the Zhu family's fool will definitely love his wife. Anran said, Chapter 404, Herbal Soup. When Sashimi heard that, she couldn't accept it. Where could she find such a family? She wanted to make a fortune from the fool of the Zhao family, and for other families wouldn't have the money. How can we just change things that we have agreed on? We will naturally have to prepare a dowry for Yaxin to marry. You don't have to worry about this, but I think that the family is very rich and probably doesn't care about a dowry. You just have to help us contact them. We will meet them when it's a good day for us. Sashimi didn't relent, even at the change of plan. She realized that the marriage to a wealthy family couldn't be resolved so easily. Grandma, don't worry. I will take care of her marriage. Anman smiled and said. Sashimi nodded and stood up. It seems that Ting-young is in good health. I came here to see if he's all right. Since that is the case, I will take my leave first. Yan-chan is waiting for my news. Ting-young wanted to say something, but when he saw Sashimi take back the fruit basket, he swallowed his words. After Sashimi left, Ting-young spoke slowly. Anran, you shouldn't have agreed to this marriage. If Yaxin's marriage was properly arranged, it wouldn't have mattered. But if the other party doesn't agree, she would come to cause trouble again. In the end, you'll go for wool and come home shorn. Why did you have to agree to such a losing deal? Mom is very satisfied and happy today, but if Yaxin marries a fool and her life isn't good, there'll be some conflicts and she'll come to you to complain about it. Ting-young frowned. He didn't think his daughter should get involved in this. His sister-in-law wasn't a pushover, and the only reason she agreed to the marriage was to benefit it. However, no one was a fool alone. That child was foolish, but his parents weren't. When the time come, would Yaxin have a say in any matters? Dad, don't worry. I'm confident about this marriage. You and Mom don't have to worry. The medicine is ready. I'll go and visit Yanran. Yanran poured the soup and placed it on the table before she walked out. She didn't know what the results would be either, but when she thought about how Yaxin's life would be 10 times worse than in her past life, she didn't want to think about anything else. She didn't find Yanran in school, nor did he answer her call, so she was starting to feel worried. At this moment, old Mrs. Mo suddenly called her. Yanran, your brother is drunk and Junong sent him over to stay. Hurry over and take a look. Well, Mrs. Mo said as she raised her phone to her ear. He was Anran's brother, after all, and it wasn't appropriate for him to stay with her. Why is he with Grandma? I'll be there right away. Yanran hung up and hurried to old Mrs. Mo's house. Old Mrs. Mo looked at Yanran, who was sleeping peacefully. Look at this child. He looks so alike to Yanran. They're practically poured from the same mold. Old Mrs. Mo was overjoyed. Oh, Mrs. Mo, young madam is very pretty, so her brother must be very pretty as well. I heard that he's a big star, so he must have drunk too much at a social gathering. Nanny Wu smiled. Nanny Wu, hurry and make 2 bowls of hangover soup. I think he must have drunk a lot since his face is flushed. Old Mrs. Mo reminded. After Nanny Wu left, old Mrs. Mo sat by the side and looked at him with a smile. Shang Li walked in secretly and asked curiously when he saw the person lying on the bed, Mom, who is he? Anran's his brother. He must have drunk too much outside and was sent here by Jinrong. He is so pretty. He looks just like Anran. Old Mrs. Mo praised Yanran for his good looks. Learn Anran's his brother? Mo Shang Li thought thoughtfully. I have called Anran. She'll be here soon. Oh, Mrs. Mo, the hangover soup is ready. Nanny Wu smiled as she carried 2 bowls of hangover soup inside the room. Let's leave it here and give it to him when he wakes up. Old Mrs. Mo slowly left the room. Shang Li turned to look at the 2 bowls of hangover soup and then walked out of the room. Anran hurriedly got out of the car and ran into the villa. Where is my brother? Look at that sweaty face. Your brother is with me, so don't worry. He seems to have drunk a lot and was sent here by Jinrong. He is currently sleeping soundly. Old Mrs. Mo smiled and said, Why didn't Junhong tell me? Anyan complained. He probably sent him to me because he was afraid that you would be worried. I don't think it is a good idea to have him here for too long, though. When he wakes up, you can bring him home. Well, Mrs. Mo smiled and drank a mouthful of tea. Grandma, I want to go upstairs and see my brother first. Anyan turned and ran into the room to check on Yanran. She took his pulse worriedly. He had only drank too much, so it wasn't a big deal. She was just about to turn and leave when she suddenly saw 2 bowls of hangover soup on the side table. She had a nagging feeling that the soup wasn't completely mixed properly. She picked up a spoon from the side table, which showed traces of stirring. She stirred the soup and the powder dispersed within it and immediately disappeared into the soup. Someone had drugged her brother? Anyan looked around vigilantly, going through everyone she knew and eliminating those who weren't suspicious. Well, Mrs. Mo wouldn't harm her brother, so this matter probably had nothing to do with her. She didn't know much about Nanny Wu, so she was temporarily a pending suspect. Mo Shengli was the person most likely to drug her brother. Harming her brother meant harming her. She still didn't know what medicine was in the hangover soup, so she went to the washroom and took out an empty bottle. She poured the contents into an empty bottle, placed it in a bag, and poured the other bowl of hangover soup into the toilet. She pretended like nothing had happened and left with her bag. Grandma, do you know who made the hangover soup? Anyan asked and said, I asked Nanny Wu to make those 2 bowls. Did your brother drink them? Well, Mrs. Mo smiled and asked. He drank them, but then fell asleep again. Anyan smiled and looked at Nanny Wu. Can you teach me how to make hangover soup? Of course, young madam. I will definitely do my best to teach you. It's actually nothing much, just some honey water. Nanny Wu's eyes were firm and unhurried. It probably wasn't her. Anyan smiled and looked at Shengli again. This old man really didn't give up, wanting to poison her brother. One day she would personally send him to his jail cell. Anyan, your brother is all right. Don't worry. Why don't you let him sleep here tonight? I'll take care of him, Shengli said. Grandma, I want to watch the show. I'll take Yanran home with me when he wakes up. When Yanran suggested listening to the opera, old Mrs. Mo beamed with joy and immediately got someone to arrange it. Chapter 405, Zhu-kun. On the other side, Mo Junrong had contacted the Zhou family. Coincidentally, the Zhu family had been busy trying to find a suitable daughter-in-law for their son these past 2 days. However, when others heard that he was a fool, they rejected the proposal of marriage. Zhu Goxing was honored to receive Mo Junrong's invitation. After all, the potential future daughter-in-law was Mo Junrong's wife's sister, so that way they were related to the Mo family, and it would be easier for them to cooperate in the future. Zhu Goxing had made a date for them to meet before discussing the engagement. Well, Master, if Zhu-kun gets married, how many betrothal gifts will you give? His condition is probably going to cost us billions, right? Zhu Goxing's little wife spoke critically to him. Isn't it just a few billion? Why are you worried? The Zhu family's bloodline is more important than anything else. As long as I have a grandson, I can fork out millions, not to mention tens of billions. Zhu Goxing wanted a grandson to inherit the family fortune. His mistresses and wife had accompanied him for a long time, but when he was gone, the family fortune would be shared with others. He only had one foolish son, so he would give up everything to get a grandson. Why would I feel worried? It's just that outsiders say that our son is inhumane and silly. How do we even know if our grandchildren are going to be born? Lin Yu smiled. Nonsense. Who said that my son is inhuman? He is just a silly person and doesn't know anything. Don't listen to other people's nonsense. How could I not know my own son? He is in good health. As long as he gets a wife, he can immediately sire a grandson from me. If he doesn't know anything, we can teach him. Haven't I taught him how to dress and eat since he was born? What's so difficult about this? Let me tell you, don't you dare covet my assets. You are my wife, and our assets were fair before we got married. Don't you dare take a single cent from me." Zhu Guoxing cursed. He didn't trust his wife at all. In his opinion, everyone was after his money, and it was just a spur of the moment for him to marry her. Lin Yu smiled brightly on the surface, but she was cursing him internally. Back then, she had wanted to marry him, an old man who was in his 50s and had a silly son, because when he died, she would send the son to the Welfare Institute, and that way all the assets would be hers. However, she didn't expect the old man to hold on to money like a monkey and get a prenup notary. She thought that even if she didn't have an inheritance, she could still beg the old man to buy her some jewelry and bags. These things would still cost a lot of money and would be better than nothing. So she agreed to the prenuptial assets notary. But now the old man was actually going to marry off his younger son. When the time came, everything in the family would really have nothing to do with her, so she was a little jealous. "Old master, are you saying that I'm greedy for your money? If I were greedy for money, I wouldn't have married you. Aren't the things I said being gossiped around by outsiders? In fact, rather than letting your son have a grandson, why don't you do it yourself? Look, you may be old, but you're still strong. Why don't we?" Lin Yu naturally knew the benefits of having a son. She was about to turn 30 and could still give birth. Once she became pregnant, the family money would have to go to her son, and that way she could benefit too. "How many times do I have to tell you? You're not allowed to get pregnant. You're not allowed to have children, and I will not have another child besides my son. He is my only son." Zhu Guoxing warned her righteously. The rumors that he couldn't have children were deliberately released by him in case someone tried to blackmail him. In his heart, only his dead wife was his real wife, and she was the only one worthy to bear his children. Hence, all these years he had been putting on a show and looking for a woman who resembled his wife. "Zhu Guoxing, are you crazy? Your official wife has been dead for many years. You think she's the only one worthy of giving birth to your child? But she gave birth to a foolish son. Is this the good genes you're referring to? You haven't had any children or grandchildren in so many years. Oh no, but your silly son is old and no one has inherited your assets. You want him to give birth to a grandson? Let's see how he's going to take over the business." Just as Lin Yu finished speaking, Zhu Guoxing slapped her across the face. "What nonsense are you saying? No matter how silly or bad my son is, it's my son's turn. Why are you making irresponsible remarks here? My son's genes are excellent. You are the woman I found from a bar, and I don't even know how many men you have been with. So I don't want to bicker. I'm already giving you face by marrying you. I hope you know what's good for you. You don't deserve to have a son with your lowly status. Let me tell you, don't even think about it. If you can't take it, get lost. You can even marry someone else. Some women are still willing to marry me." Although Zhu Guoxing was old, he was very energetic when he quarreled, and he had used all his strength in that slap. Blood gushed from the corner of Lin Yu's mouth, and her right cheek swelled. She had no choice but to find another opportunity. At this moment, Zhu Kun came out carrying an ice cream cone, and he was very fat. "Dad, Kun wants to eat drumsticks, but Aunt Lee wouldn't let me. She's a big baddie, the biggest baddie." Aunt Lee was the first to explain. "Old master, didn't you say last time that young Master Kun needs to lose weight? Now that both families are about to meet, young Master Kun hasn't lost weight at all, and has increased by 2 kilograms. There are no suitable clothes for young Master Kun to wear, and custom-made clothes are very cumbersome. Young Master can't eat anymore." Zhu Guoxing walked over and persuaded his son kindly. "If Kun doesn't eat chicken drumsticks, I will find you a wife. Do you want a wife or chicken drumsticks?" Zhu Kun swung his big head. His fat face made his eyes look very small, but you could still tell that his eyes were looking around. "Kun wants a wife. Kun doesn't want to eat drumsticks. Does that mean Kun can have a wife after Kun slims down? Kun needs to lose weight and will have a wife after he trims down the fat. None of you can bully my wife. Zukun grinned. Good boy. Once you have a wife, give me a fat grandson and I will reward you with the chicken drumsticks every day. Zugo Xing smiled and looked at him. The deadline is in 2 days, so make sure he slims down by 10 pounds in these 2 days. Only this is the mission I am giving to you. The clothes must be specifically custom within 200 kilograms. Let him wear some pretty clothes and he must slim down. Once he has a wife, I don't care how much he wants to eat. You can't let him eat anything in these next 2 days, though, no matter how much trouble he stirs. Zugo Xing reminded her. It'll be too difficult for him to lose 10 pounds in 2 days. What if young master goes hungry? Chapter 406, Transferring Assets. Aunt Lee was a little worried because even ordinary people wouldn't lose 10 pounds at once. It's alright. He eats a lot of fatty foods. He probably would use up some of what his body has stored during these next 2 days. Besides, let him exercise more. Zugo Xing reminded him that he would have to sacrifice these 2 days to get married and have a grandson. Wife, I want a wife, not a drumstick. I want to lose weight. Zukun swung his fat body around and walked with heavy steps. He muttered something under his breath and slowly walked upstairs. Preserve for 2 days, Zugo Xing shouted from behind. You'd better be careful in these next 2 days. If you dare to do anything behind my back, I'll chop off your claws at any time. He turned around to warn his little wife. He could tell that everyone around him was greedy for his money. At the Mo family, young master, what if something happens to the family you introduced to Yaxin? Although Zugo Xing doesn't have any business dealings with us or compete with us, his character isn't very good. His son doesn't have a good temperament either. So it wouldn't be good for him to complain. What if someone dies because of this? It doesn't matter, they agreed to it. What has it got to do with me? As for Ayn Rand, she will probably sign a waiver with them. When the time comes, even if something goes wrong, they wouldn't be able to find her. Since Yaxin doesn't want to give up on me, I'll send her to see the goods. Mojin Rollins spoke indifferently. Young master, the batch of medicine has been put on the market, and many people have immediately snatched it up when they heard that news. However, the Qin family and the Tan family seem to have some stock and are preparing to raise the price. Many people were worried that we would raise the price too, so they went ahead to snatch the medicine. Mosan reminded, Let them be, this has nothing to do with us. Increase the quantity of the next batch of medicine. This wasn't up to his company to decide. Since someone else wanted to raise the price, he had no choice. He just wanted his company's medicine to be sold at a low price. During this period, our cosmetics market has been declining. On the contrary, the Qin family is unusually popular. If we don't take any action, we're going to be crushed by them. Mosan seems to be concerned about this, but Jinran didn't seem to be in a hurry. Ask Ayn Rand and get her to bring the latest sample. It's been a while. The results should be out. Do you have any leads on the person I asked you to check on? Mojin Rowling had spoken to Ayn Rand beforehand, and she had informed him that the sample was in the midst of research, which was why he was waiting for her makeup product unhurriedly. Young master, I think it's better if you ask young madam yourself. In fact, Mosan couldn't find anything even after a long time. He knew that he wouldn't be able to find Ayn Rand if she wanted to hide. Tanang stood up, picked up his jacket, and walked out. He wanted to find Ayn Rand and find out the truth. Last time, he knew that Ayn Rand was lying to him, and he desperately wanted to know the answer. He walked outside and took out his phone to call Ayn Rand, wanting to know where she was. Where are you? I need to talk to you. Janelle spoke softly. I'm with Grandma. I have something to ask you, too. Ayn Rand happened to be in the washroom and was about to call him when her phone rang. You want to know why I didn't tell you about your brother? I didn't tell you because I was afraid that you would be worried. Nothing happened to your brother. He just drank too much. Janelle hurriedly explained. But you shouldn't have left him alone at Grandma's house. Did you know that someone drugged my brother? If I hadn't seen it, he would have been ruined today. Anran was furious. He should know that there was an unfathomable uncle in the family, but he still sent him over without worry. Drugged? What was he drugged with? Mojang hadn't thought it through deeply. He just didn't want her parents to worry. He really hadn't thought this through now that someone tried to drug Yanran. I don't know yet. I'm preparing to bring it back for a test. Yanran is sleeping in Grandma's room. We'll talk about it when he wakes up. Just as Anran finished speaking, Mo Shengli shouted from outside, Anran, come out for a while. I have something to tell you. Anran hung up the phone and walked out with a smile. Uncle, what's the matter? Anran looked at his smile and wondered what he was up to no good, but on the surface she was still smiling at him. Anran, there are some things I hope you can consider. For example, the matter I mentioned last week. You should take your family's safety to heart and transfer all of the company's money into this account within a week. Junrong loves you very much and will agree to anything you say. This matter isn't difficult for you, young madam, but I'll be troubled if you refuse. Your brother is really cute. I placed a large dose of hallucinogens in the hangover soup. It's an addictive drug. If you don't listen to me, just wait and see. If he doesn't take it within 3 days, he'll relapse, and I'll die of hallucinations. I'll give you the right to choose your brother or your husband. Mo Shengli spoke slowly, like they were two people who had known each other for a long time. His words were very natural. Old Mrs. Mo looked from afar and thought they were chatting, but Anran didn't seem very happy. Shengli, what exactly do you want? Anran seemed to have guessed his purpose. He just wanted to swallow the Mo family and take their money to soar, at least for now. Isn't it obvious what I want? Anran, you're a smart person. The Mo family has an inexhaustible supply of funds. If you want some, I can give you half as a reward for being my partner. That was your father's blood and sweat. Old Mrs. Mo treats you as her biological son, but you're treating her like this. Don't you feel the slightest bit guilty? She just wanted to see Mo Shengli's reaction. Don't talk nonsense. Don't try to move me with your feelings. I have been missing for so many years and have been through enough family ties. It's only thing that can accompany now is money. If you don't want to stand with me, I will make your parents and brother die with you. Shengli smiled evilly and brushed past her. Anran clenched her bag tightly. She had noticed the problem with the hangover soup in time, but she couldn't guarantee that her parents' and brother's safety in the future. She wanted to discuss with Mo Junrong when to reel in the net. Chapter 407, Business Trip. Anran arrived at the stage and continued to watch the show. The young housekeeper came in unhurriedly. Oh, Mrs. Mo, young madam, young master is back. Why didn't he greet us when he came back? Bring over another chair. Old Mrs. Mo smiled and said. Junrong strode in and stood directly beside Anran. Junrong, why are you here? Old Mrs. Mo turned to ask. Grandma, I have arranged a marriage for the Zhu family involving Anran's sister, Yaxin. I believe that it would be better if you could be the bridge between us. Mo Junrong deliberately mentioned this in front of Mo Shengli. Although he was the one who contacted them, if old Mrs. Mo stepped in, it might change her mind. Lan Yaxin? That's a good thing. I shouldn't say this, but this girl seems to be thinking about you all the time and has gone astray. It's a good thing that she's going to get married. Are you talking about the fool from the Zhu family? Old Mrs. Mo tilted her head and asked. She had heard of the Zhu family before. Their reputation on the market wasn't that good. But Lan Yaxin wasn't a good person either. They would make a good match if she married into that family. Yes, I've spoken to her mother about this. She's rushing them to meet, so I won't be going. Junrong nodded. You don't have to worry yourself with this. Anran and I can handle it, old Mrs. Mo said. Grandma, I received a deal recently and I need to discuss business abroad. It will take about half a month before I return. I'll leave the company and the house to Anran and Grandma. Mo Junrong suddenly spoke. You're going on a business trip? Where? Old Mrs. Mo was a little surprised. Country M. There's a deal they need me to discuss in detail with them. I'm going to inspect the company there and ask about their recent situation. It might take more than half a month. Jinran spoke openly on purpose. He knew that Shengli had heard the news, but it didn't matter. He did it deliberately. Half a month? Don't worry, I'll take good care of Mom and the company. Shengli was overjoyed. Wouldn't the company be his once Jinrong left? He could take this opportunity to openly transfer his assets. Previously, because Jinrong was always in the company, he was restrained, but now he didn't have to be afraid. Yanran woke up in a daze. He was clearly drinking with the directors in the hotel. Why was he in the room? He got off the bed and pushed the curtains open to see his sister on the balcony opposite the window. There were actors performing below on the stage. Sis, where am I? Yanran immediately took out his phone and called his sister. You're awake. You were drunk and your brother-in-law had brought you here. This is his grandma's house. Yanran turned her head and looked over to her brother on the balcony opposite. His eyes were drowsy and he seemed to be in a daze. She smiled at old Mrs. Mo and said, Grandma, my brother is awake. I'm going to see him. Yanran stood up. Old Mrs. Mo looked at the person opposite on the balcony, stood up and walked over. This young man is energetic. Nanny Wu, prepare some porridge to warm the stomach and get the kitchen to prepare dinner. Nanny Wu walked towards the kitchen. Sis, I remember drinking with those directors, Yanran muttered to her when they met. Don't drink so much in the future. I've asked the kitchen staff to prepare dinner. Stay here today and go back after dinner. Old Mrs. Mo looked at the siblings and was overjoyed that they were so similar. Sis, Grandma's house is so big. There's even a swimming pool downstairs. Yanran looked down at the large swimming pool in the sun. There was also a sun umbrella beside it. The flowers and trees were perfect. Look at your useless appearance, Yanran smiled and said. You're welcome here any time you want. No one will swim in the swimming pool downstairs and the umbrellas are all abandoned. I'm old and I don't know how to swim. And no one uses it anymore. If you want to come, just come over, and I'll get someone to prepare something for you. When Mrs. Mo looked at Yanran's smart and sensible appearance, which was innocent and pure. This fellow lacked such vitality. Really? Yanran's eyes widened in surprise, and he forgot to call his parents. Hurry home after dinner. Mom and Dad were still waiting for you. They thought something bad happened to you. Yanran had called Ting Young just now, which was why they could stay here so long with a fret-free conscience. After the meal, Jinrong left with Yanran. Because Yanran said that the Mo family's food was delicious, old Mrs. Mo specially got someone to pack a lot for him to bring back. He stood there waiting. Young Master Mo, the business trip you mentioned shouldn't be a business trip, right? Yanran asked deliberately. As expected, I can't hide anything from you. Shengli has been careful since he returned. If I leave, he won't be able to do his things openly. Jinrong lit a cigarette. As expected of an old flock, Yanran smiled. She glanced over and saw Shengli watching her from the window upstairs. She turned her head and gave Jinrong a kiss. Someone upstairs is watching us. Yanran tilted her head and kissed Jinrong's lips. Isn't it a little monotonous to kiss just like that? Why don't we do something exciting? Jinrong smiled evilly. Yanran immediately released his lips and looked at him in surprise. Was he thinking of doing that? No. There are so many people here, you. Yanran was nervous. She didn't expect Jinrong to go so far. Jinrong suddenly lowered the back of the chair and the two of them fell. You... Don't speak. Jinrong covered her mouth. You don't have to make me touch you, but there's something I don't understand. I hope you can tell me the truth. Are you Zero? Jinrong had been testing her, but she didn't fall for it, so he gave up to his suspicions. Yanran was stunned at first. Then she smiled. I'm really not. I don't know why you suspect me. But you think too highly of me. I don't have that kind of ability. Really? I investigated the small restaurant you told me about last time and found out that you were lying. I hope you can tell me the truth. Why was the bracelet in that room? Janelle held her shoulders tightly with a sincere expression. Anna stared at him tightly, not knowing how to answer this question. Anyway, her identity can't be exposed. Since he asked this question, she might as well beat him at his own game. In that case, I'll tell you the truth. I deliberately let her put the bracelet inside. Chapter 408. The Furious Kiss in the Car. A trace of surprise flashed in Mojarong's eyes. Why did Ayn Rand let Zero reveal the bracelet in front of him? Why? Janong was still doubtful of her words. He had been deceived by her too many times and didn't know whether to believe her or not. I know that you have been investigating her, and she knows as well. Why are you investigating her? Are you interested in her? Coincidentally, she asked me to stop you from investigating her identity. Tell me, why are you investigating her? Anan pushed all the blame onto Janong. I've been looking for her for so many years to get her to treat my illness, but I haven't found anything in these years. It just so happened that when you appeared, she appeared. Tell me, is this a coincidence? Is that why you made her wear your bracelet? So that I can mistake you for her and be deceived? Janong continued to stare at her. Although Ayn Rand wasn't used to such a questioning tone and intense gaze, she continued to stare into his eyes, not revealing anything. Do you like her? Ayn Rand persisted. Don't you know who I like? I just want to have her as my personal doctor. Janong leaned in over to kiss her. Ayn Rand didn't dodge either. They were kissing furiously in the car, which Mo Shengli could see clearly. He knew that they were putting on a show, but he didn't interrupt them. All he wanted was the Mo family's money. After Janong left, this place would be his. Janong felt a pair of eyes staring at him, and when he raised his head, he saw a face pushed against the car window. Ayn Rand was shocked. Ayn Rand, why aren't you saying anything? Her face flushed. Sis, I didn't mean it. It was a coincidence. I didn't see anything. You can continue. Ayn Rand turned around with some big and small bags in his hands. His face was flushed even to the tips of his ears. Alright, hurry up. Janong opened the door for him and Ayn Rand got into the car. The atmosphere in the car was a little awkward. What did Grandma give you to bring over? Ayn Rand was the first to break the awkward silence. It's nothing. It's just some delicious pastries and the food. Ayn Rand lowered his head, not daring to look into their eyes. He was just curious, as his gentle sister seemed to be very different when she did such things. He couldn't help but take a few more looks and get caught. The atmosphere in the car turned awkward again. Sis, don't worry, I won't tell Mom and Dad, but your kissing skills could win you an Oscar. I can tell that it comes from the bottom of your heart. Ayn Rand flushed even more. Ayn Rand, don't talk nonsense. Your brother-in-law are married. Shouldn't we have a kiss? Don't gossip about us anymore. Ayn Rand reminded him. Janong didn't say a word from the start to the end. He was focused on driving, but his mind was in a mess. Back in the Land family's house, Tae-yeon looked at the three of them, who seemed a little awkward, not understanding what happened. Janong, come in and have a seat. Tae-yeon invited. Because of what happened just now, he couldn't bring himself to go in. He stammered and declined, then drove off with one foot on the accelerator. Ayn Rand quickly changed the topic. Dad, the chef at Mojarong's grandma's house is a very good cook. There are some pastries with sugar and some without. All of the food I ate just now was delicious. I packed some up and brought it back for you to try. Tae-yeon looked at the table full of food and spoke embarrassedly. How could you go to someone's house and bring something back? Don't do that again. You'll be a joke if you bring back so much food. Dad, Grandma likes Ayn Rand a lot, so it's not a big deal. I'll change my clothes first. Liu interrupted her. Your performance is tomorrow. Why were you drinking? We were worried and thought something had happened to you. There was a banquet yesterday and I wanted to obtain a few dramas, so I went to the directors and drank a little. Unfortunately, I have the resources now, and it won't affect tomorrow's performance, so don't worry, Ayn Rand smiled and said. When Ayn Rand returned home, she ran upstairs and shut the door. She touched her lips silently. She didn't expect his kissing skills to be so good, and she almost fell for him. She was smiling when Mojiro sent her a message. The cosmetics experiments you're working on has already taken so long. It should have succeeded by now. Pass it to Mosan after I'm gone tomorrow, and call me if you need anything. She replied kindly and received an anonymous email from her computer. Hello, Lan Anran. Let's meet tomorrow. I want to talk to you about Jinrong. Anran could tell from the writing style that the sender was a woman and probably an admirer of his. She didn't think much of it and directly placed the anonymous mail in the trash. Thinking that Sheng Li might cause trouble with Jinrong wasn't around, she had Fatty and Skinny send people to monitor Sheng Li. Boss, we haven't been on a mission in a long time. My hands are itchy. Patty spoke in a group chat. Aren't we here for a mission? Sheng Li is a sinister and cunning person. Don't let him find out that when you monitor him. Anran reminded them. Boss, I haven't worked in such a long time. Can you find something for me to do? Gu Ming said. He was a security officer in the organization and was in charge of internet technology. But because Anran had been busy with the Mo family's matters, he didn't have any chance to show off his abilities. If you're really bored, take a look at the Golden Lotus I've recommended you. Don't just think about playing computer games. You're not young anymore. You don't even have a girlfriend. You can learn from me. Forget it. Your Golden Lotus is ruined. How could I learn from you, Fatty? I haven't seen a woman by your side drooling all over your looks, Skinny teased. Go away. I love literature and art very much, unlike dirty things you keep to yourself. I'm also pure and an innocent boy. Fatty was embarrassed. Alright, stop joking. Gu Ming, see if you can find any information about Sheng Li. I heard that he's a stockbroker. If that's the case, there should be some records in the stock world. Anran still felt as long as a person came out to this world, it was impossible to erase traces of their lives. Even if he tried his best to hide it, there would still be a trace of it. Boss, do you still accept hypnotherapy? Ever since you married into the Mo family, Zero seems to have disappeared from this world, Skinny asked. He felt that it had been a long time since his boss had regained her identity as Zero. Anran didn't reply. She hadn't appeared as Zero on the market in a long time. We'll talk about it when we have the chance. She didn't know if she wanted to do hypnotherapy again, but the most important thing right now was the Mo family's safety. Chapter 409, An Envious Present. The next day, the school's annual graduation performance was only open to graduates. When many people had heard about Yanran, the entire performance hall was packed and people were standing at the door. Yanran had specifically prepared a song and dance for today. It took less than 3 minutes to ignite the entire audience. Yanran hid in the corner quietly, watching her brother fulfilling his dreams. She took out her phone and recorded the entire performance to send to her parents. Li Shishi sat at the window, watching Yanran's performance with contempt. Trash like him can enter the entertainment circle? Isn't it just a dance? Shishi, what about the matter? You should think about it. Tianwen, the manager, urged. What should I do? You're my manager. Shouldn't you help me think of a solution? My stomach is about to get big. Hurry up and find me a child. Li Shishi spoke casually. Find a child? You make it sound so simple. Why am I going to find a child for you? Do you really think I'm God? You're the one who caused this. What are you going to do? It's big news for female celebrities in the entertainment industry to be pregnant, especially if a celebrity like you is pregnant. Wouldn't the entertainment industry blow up? In the future, you can only take on the role of mothers, and your acting path has narrowed. Let's see how you're going to survive this. Li Shishi had told Tianwen about her fake pregnancy. Tianwen was overwrought. After all, the Tan family wasn't to be trifled with. Actually, I have found a scapegoat. I will be entering the production team in 2 months, and the scapegoat will be appearing soon. And there's no need to worry. I'm prepared. Li Shishi smiled. Which little star are you going to use? Let me tell you, don't cause any trouble. I won't be able to deal with it when the time comes. Tianwen warned that in the entertainment industry, news of a female celebrity getting pregnant and giving birth was already big news. If any conspiracy theories were exposed, it would be over for them. Don't worry, I know my limits. Our Shishi is the smartest. Who can compare it to our Shishi? Wisdom and beauty only coexist in her. The assistant behind her starting to flatter her again. Li Shishi liked it when others praised her. Tianwen, tell Director Wang that I'll be taking the cameo role in the suspense drama. Li Shishi smiled. What? You're a popular female celebrity. How can you accept a scene like that? You're going to be in a cameo for only a few episodes, and people will forget about you in 2 seconds. The salary is pitifully low. So why are you asking for a rebuff? It's not like we don't have a chance. Tianwen was puzzled. I told you to go. Why did you think I have to waste my breath? I said I have my own thoughts. Hurry. Li Shishi turned around with an abhorrent expression and said. Tianwen couldn't do anything about it. She was famous, after all. Sis Shishi, I think you have got a good reputation. Anyone would feel bad for you if you voluntarily lowered your status to even the second female lead. The assistant was upset. Li Shishi glanced at her assistant and smiled. You sure know how to flatter. On account of your pitiful state, I'll raise your salary. The assistant was overjoyed and hurriedly nodded and bowing to thank Shishi. Just then, Tan Shilin called to ask her about her well-being. Honey, did the baby miss me today? Li Shishi knew that the call was for his son and not for her, so she looked a little unhappy. You heartless man, you only know your son. The first thing you asked when you called was to ask about your son. You don't love me at all. Of course not. I'm working hard now to earn money for the formula and to take care of my son and you. You must take care of your health and not let anything happen to my son. I sent someone to give you something. You can receive it. What is it? Li Shishi was overjoyed at the thought of branded bags. You'll know when it's delivered. I have something to do, so I'll hang up first. He hummed the call. Li Shishi was overjoyed and her makeup assistant praised her as well. Sis Shishi, your boyfriend is so thoughtful. He is so busy, yet he called to care about you and gave you something. He just feels bad for the child, not me. Li Shishi didn't complain much, but she was very happy. Soon a courier came over carrying a box of items. Who is Li Shishi? I have a package. The express delivery man shouted loudly in the company, attracting the attention of many people. Who sent this? It looks big. It should be expensive. Shishi is lucky. I wonder if this is from a fan or a boyfriend. I'm so envious. When Li Shishi walked out, she heard the praises from the company's employees and was overjoyed. I don't know what it is. Let's open it and have a look. Li Shishi wanted to show off. She signed the package and opened it, and the smile quickly faded from her face. The box was filled with cheap things like slippers, pillows, and baby products. Everyone immediately fell silent and looked at Shishi with embarrassed expressions. They had just said it was something valuable, and it turned out to be junk. She felt embarrassed. She threw the items aside without a glance. She didn't know why Shilin had sent this rubbish to the company. Shishi went back to hiding in her room, wanting to call Tan Shilin and ask him why he sent such rubbish to embarrass her. But before she could make the call, another call came in. This time it was a courier. Miss Li Shishi, the package that Mr. Tan ordered for you is downstairs. Please come down and pick it up. Shishi hung up the phone once again. Wasn't it humiliating her once enough? Was he going to insult her again? The courier called again. Li Shishi said angrily, Don't call me again. Throw that thing away. I don't need it. At this moment, her assistant ran over hurriedly. Sis Shishi, you're so fortunate. Mr. Tan gave you a big gift. I heard that there were 999 roses with Chanel bags holding them. I counted 10 of them, and they are probably the latest limited edition bags. We're so envious of you. Li Shishi was stunned. Wasn't the random child products for him? How could there be roses too? She hung up skeptically and walked downstairs. Several large bouquets of roses were placed at the entrance of the company. There were probably 10 Chanel bags that were acting as holders. She smiled happily again. This guy was always like this. This time, the people in the company quickly changed their tone. The embarrassment just now turned to envy and jealousy as Tan Lin became the best boyfriend people in the company had seen. Chapter 410, Blind Date. Shishi, your boyfriend is so thoughtful and he loves you. He knows you're pregnant and even sent you so many material and infant products and bought so many branded bags for you. You've really fallen into a honey trap. Yeah, it definitely isn't cheap. Speaking of which, he's really rich. Who is he? Some people who didn't know the truth started to compliment her. Li Shishi looked at the flowers and bags of joy. He's just an ordinary person, and this isn't even the amount that he usually gives. The gifts in the past were much more valuable than this. I have so many pieces of jewelry that I can't even wear them all. Now that he has sent me so many roses and bags, I don't know what to do. Shishi smiled. She then got someone to send the items to her dressing room. The attention was glorious. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the two families to meet. Zhu Guoxing especially let his son starve for 2 days, hoping that his weight would go down quickly so that the girl wouldn't instantly object. Zukun had been nagging about his wife for the past 2 days. No matter how hungry he was, he didn't eat much. Although his weight hadn't reached the right weight, he had lost quite a bit of weight. Son, let's meet your wife today. When she agrees to marry you, you can eat anything. Zhu Guoxing comforted him. Zukun nodded. His steps were ethereal, and he felt that he was stepping on cotton. He was helped into the car by Aunt Li. Xu Yanshan had been dressing Yaxin since the morning. My dear daughter, you must do well today. A fool is easier to fool than Mo Jinrong. When the time comes, you just have to suck it up to the Zhu family. Don't screw up and don't mention Mo Jinrong again. Xu Yanshan was afraid that her daughter would become hot-headed and think about that man. She couldn't afford to embarrass herself in front of him. Yaxin nodded, still thinking about Mo Jinrong. Even if she married into the Zhu family, her heart wasn't there. For the sake of today's meeting, Xu Yanshan had spent a large sum of money to buy an elegant outfit at a luxury store. Yanshan, are you really willing? It's just a marriage, but you spent so much money on such a good dress. Sashimi looked at the layers of cloth and felt her heart ache. Mom, you don't understand. You have to spend money to make money. The Zhu family may be foolish, but they still have a lot of money. We're after their assets, not that fool. Who doesn't want money? Xu Yanshan smiled as she arranged Yaxin's hair and applied especially mature makeup. Look at my daughter, she's so beautiful today. Mom, I really don't want to marry that fool. Yaxin turned around in distress. She was still in school, so how could she marry a fool? If her classmates found out, she would be the laughing stock. It's already like this. What nonsense are you saying? We can't even fill our stomachs, and the family relies on you. We raised you for nothing, and you don't even know how to contribute to the family. You're just causing trouble. Now it's time for you to contribute. Xu Yanshan cursed. Mom. Alright, let's stop. It's getting late. Let's hurry and get into the car. I'm afraid they're already waiting there. I said that we're going to take a look and not necessarily finalize marriage. If it doesn't work, we can just have to find another family. Will I push my daughter into a fiery pit? Xu Yanshan coaxed. In-law, why aren't you waiting for us? Old Mrs. Mo came over with a smile. Xu Yanshan turned and saw old Mrs. Mo, her expression grim. What are you doing here? This is my daughter's blind date. What has it got to do with you? I don't usually see you guys being so attentive. Look at what you're saying. We're in-laws after all. Yaxin is Anran's sister, and this marriage was arranged by Jinrong. Jinrong is now in a business trip and can't come back, so I should be present, right? Old Mrs. Mo smiled and said, Aunt, it's better if we were to present for Yaxin's blind date. Otherwise, they will believe because you're weak. We can defend you. Who could dare to bully the Mo family's representatives? Don't you agree? Anran smiled and said, Let's not talk so much. Hurry up and get into the car. It's getting late. Let's not let anyone know we're late. Old Mrs. Mo urged. Yaxin was forcefully dragged into the car. The meeting venue was in Wrong City's Autumn Museum. The Zhu family brought their son to the Autumn Museum early in the morning and sat by the side drinking tea. Master, Wrong City's Autumn Museum is really good. It has a classical style. No matter, it is famous in the outer city. Lin Yu smiled. She just wanted to know which foolish daughter would marry her foolish stepson. Usually the ones who came to marry were greedy for the Zhu family's money, just like her. Don't make a sound later. My son and me will do the talking. You're here to support me. Don't think of yourself as a member of the Zhu family. Zhu Guoxing warned. Lin Yu smiled awkwardly, nodding in silence. Zhu Guoxing turned and looked at his silly son. He was so hungry that his eyes were dull. He sat at the side looking paralyzed. Aunt Li, hurry up and help the child. Doesn't he look like he's collapsed? Aunt Li hurriedly pulled Zukun up, but he slumped over the table like a pile of soft mud and muttered to himself, I want a wife. I want a wife. Well, Master, why don't you give the child a few bites? Look at how hungry he is. To be honest, he hasn't lost much weight. When the lady sees him, she might think he's mentally challenged. Aunt Li felt bad for the child. He hadn't had a mother since he was a child, and his IQ was extremely low. He was often bullied and didn't have many friends. It was heartbreaking to see him so famished. We're already here, so why should he eat? Let's eat when we're back. What does he want to eat after the meeting? We'll give him what he wants to eat. Our son, pull yourself together. Your wife will be here soon. Zhu Guoxing smiled. Zukun nodded and continued to lay on the table weakly. Before long, Xu Yanchen brought them to the Autumn Museum. She looked around and confirmed that there were a group of people sitting at the table and a fat man lying on the table next to theirs. He looked weak and seemed to be waiting for someone. She pulled Yaxin over and smiled. The Zhu family? Zhu Guoxing smiled. Are you Lan Yaxin, the blind date for my son? Mr. Zhu, this is my sister, Yaxin. The Mo family will not go back on our word. Anran smiled and said. Zhu Guoxing eyed Anran and Yaxin. It was obvious that he liked Anran more, but she was already married to the Mo family, so he didn't say anything. He turned to look at Yaxin. Although she wasn't as pretty as her sister, she was still a beauty, and most importantly, she was related to the Mo family. This was extremely important.